This is something I've been dreaming about for a very long time, and it's finally here. So I've been aquascaping for almost 10 years now, I want to say. And in those 10 years, I've had a few big tanks. You know, we had the first big shallow. We have the big shallow that I have right now upstairs. We had the Aquascape Line 90 that was previously over here. But this feels a bit different, guys. I don't know what it is. A 4 foot, 120 centimeter tank, 50 by 50. I don't know, it's quite massive, to be honest. So the tank itself is made by ADA, Aqua Design Mano, and this is a 120p. So it's 120 from left to right, 120 centimeters. Top to bottom is 50 centimeters, and front to back it's also 50 centimeters. I think that holds roughly 250 liters, if I'm not mistaken. My bad, it's actually 300 liters. Now, I've had quite a few optic wide rimless tanks in those years, but this one is definitely the highest quality and the best silicone work as well. I'll get some close-ups underneath some good light, but yeah, those ADA tanks, they definitely live up to their name. It's not sponsored, by the way. Everything was just bought myself. I did buy everything wholesale, so I saved a little bit of money there. The cabinet is also from the wholesaler. It's kind of like their own brand. Really nice cabinet, actually. Push to open doors, shelf in the middle. Shelves can be removed, so I can add a canister filter in the CO2 system, you know. We got holes in the back for all the electrical cords, and there's some holes on the side as well for the filter tubing and the light cable. Already added an extension cord over here. The only downside to this cabinet is that the feet are not adjustable, so I need to manually level the tank, because at the moment I think it's not 100% level. Yeah, I think we're just slightly off, just a little bit. Same thing over here. It's not much, but we definitely need to adjust that. Okay, so before we can start on the layout, there's a few things that we need to do to prepare the entire setup. I've already added a foam mat between the cabinet and the glass, just to kind of even out the pressure. Then we need to level the cabinet and the tank. We need to add a background to the back glass panel. I mean, the wall behind the tank is white, but I think these window films just looks a bit nicer, looks a bit cleaner. And of course, we need to add a light. I've actually just removed the skylight hyperspot, which was the light that I previously had in this spot above the Aquascape Line 90. You can still see the attachments over there. I have a new light coming from Skylight, which will probably be here in a few days, but I'm a little bit impatient. I want to get started now. So I think I'm temporarily going to hang a Chihiro's light. So I just need to make some new holes in the ceiling so it hangs directly above the tank. So I think I'm going to start with the background first, because for that I need to move the tank. I need to turn it around, of course. And then after the background is done, we can place the tank in its final position, sort of, level it, then install the light, and then we're done. Then we can actually start on the fun part. Okay, let me see if I can do this. Okay, so for the background, we need background itself. This time I'm going for the static one. I always prefer a sticky background, but they don't have it in the size that I need for this tank, so we're going for the static. Some paper towels, some window cleaner, regular spray bottle, and a very sharp knife. Okay, so step one is to just clean the glass with the window cleaner, just to make sure there's nothing between the background and the glass, you know, there's no dust particles or whatever. Okay, then I need to unroll the background. So normally I would first cut it to size, or like roughly to size, you know, but this roll is 67 by 1.5 meters. So I'm not gonna, any of the leftovers I will not be able to use. So I'm just basically gonna use the entire thing, and I'm gonna add it to the tank and then cut it to size once it's already attached. Then I'm just gonna spray this with a little bit of water. Okay, so protective layer is removed, so we can now pick it up gently, stick it on there, and then remove all the excess water. Now, This would be a lot easier if you had 2 people. I guess I need to make some more local friends. I already asked my neighbors to help me lift up the tank to the 2nd floor as well as the cabinet, and they were not too happy about that, so I don't want to ask them again. Okay, so now it's on there. That was the hardest part done. So now I'm gonna take a credit card and squeeze out all the excess water. Yeah, this is gonna take a little while, so fast forward. Okay, so the majority of all the air bubbles and water is now removed. You can still, it's a bit hard to see, but there's still some stripes and tiny bubbles. They will slowly disappear as the water between the foil and the glass starts to evaporate. It will probably take a couple of days. But yeah, we can now basically just cut it to size and then do any final adjustments. So just take a very sharp blade. Just bought a brand new one, so this one should work very well. And I just like to kind of guide the knife at an angle along the glass, you know, so just make a cut somewhere over here. Try to do it in like one long movement. To do the bottom one, I kind of moved the tank a little bit away from the cabinet so we can actually go underneath the glass as well, sort of. So I'll start from this side. I think we're good in terms of position. Over here I'm like 4 centimeters off the wall. I think it's the same over here. Yeah, 4 centimeters as well. On this side it's a bit more, 6 centimeters, but I left some space for tubing and lily pipes and stuff like that. So basically good. Now we just need to level it. So I bought a pack of these things. Hopefully that's gonna do the job for me. Alright, 1 eternity later, I think I'm done. I mean, it's still not perfect, but I think it's slightly better than when I started. It's just so difficult to do, you know, because as soon as you lift up one corner, the other part starts lifting as well, so I'm just gonna have to take it for what it is. Yes, it's not perfectly straight, but it's good enough. So we've installed the background, we've leveled the cabinet, sort of. Now we need to start hanging the light. So I have this laser level, so it draws a line. Well, it doesn't draw it, but it shows a line on the ceiling. And hopefully that's directly in the center. And then the light should hang perfectly above the tank. That's the idea. It sounds very easy, but I'm not very good at this stuff. Okay, first one in. Let's give a little strength test. Yeah, that should be able to hold some weight. So on the first hole that I drilled, it was the ceiling, so like the plaster basically, and then a piece of wood. So I used this thing to hold the screw, you know, I don't know how you call this in English. Now the second hole that I just made is basically ceiling, and then it's hollow above that. So I'm going to use this one. So I hope that's correct. Somebody in the comments let me know if I'm doing it good, if I'm doing it correctly, or if I'm making a huge mistake over here. Actually, the second one that I showed you guys, that's how I had the previous light here. So that's been working fine for like an hour and a half, a year and a half, I mean. 1 foot in the tank. Should be good. All right, time to add the lights. So this is the Chihiro's WRGB 2 Slim. Like I said, I'm actually going to get a brand new light from Skylight, which should be on the way now. But they had a bit of a delay, so I'm just going to use this one for now. Now the Skylight has the attachment points on the side here with the Chihiros. They're a little bit inwards, so I'm probably going to look a little bit silly for now, but that's fine. Yeah, so you can kind of see that the cable is not completely straight. That's purely because the attachment point is here, but with a new light it should be here, so it should be more vertical. But yeah, that's looking pretty good, guys. Okay, glass is clean, so now we just take a little moment to appreciate the quality of the ADA tank. Just really nice. As you can see, like, silicone is pretty much invisible. Okay, so we're basically ready to start on our layout. Now, at the time of filming, I've just finished the IAPLC contest tank. So when I showed this one, a lot of people asked me like, Mark, are you going to do another contest tank in the 120? Short answer is no, I'm not going to go for a contest tank this time. I really enjoyed the contest process, but it's not really what kind of suits my life at the moment. Like right now, it's the beginning of September and summer is kind of over and the aquarium season is kind of starting again. So for me, that means quite a lot of travel, doing some workshops. Actually, this month I'm away almost every weekend in a different country to do a workshop. That's pretty cool. But so if you have a tank that's a contest, so if you have a contest tank or just a tank in general that's very stem heavy, for example, then that's a little bit difficult if you're away from home so much. So my plan for this one is to go for something relatively low maintenance. So I'm not gonna use any stems, or maybe just very few stems. Most of it will be like crypts and epiphytes and bulbitis. I still had a lot of plants left over from the Scapeline 90, so I want to use it again. So I have big crypts balancea, I have big pieces of bulbitis. Yeah, so I want to go for a sand foreground, really nice wooden rock structure, and then behind that just like long grasses like the crypt balancea, for example. That's the plan. I went to my local fish shop kind of like a few days after I got the tank, and they had some amazing pieces of I think they call this riverwood. Look at this is beautiful. So I want to use riverwood, and I also have, well, I've been doing this for so long now, and one of my favorite rocks is black lava rock. Yeah, so over the years I have collected quite a lot of black lava rock. Like, this is a big crate, you know? I think this is at least 20 kilos or something like that. So I want to use black lava rock. I have a few more pieces over here, the riverwood. I have some old substrate as well. So the previous tank here, the 90p, that was the contest tank. In there I had a huge slope of AQUASOIL. So when I was taking the tank down, I was like, it's kind of a waste to throw away all this substrate, you know? So I've saved a big bucket of it. I'm gonna use it as a base layer. It still has nutrients. It's now been sitting in this bucket for a week. It might still have some beneficial bacteria, or they might have all died off, I'm not sure. But either way, it's still a good substrate to use. We're gonna cap it with fresh AQUASOIL, of course. And in the foreground, I wanna have cosmetic sand. So I have the ADA Aqua Gravel. I have La Plata sand. So that's kind of what we're going for today. So normally I would start with the substrate first, but because in this tank I want to have a clear separation between the sand and the AQUASOIL, I'm going to do the hardscape first, create a good barrier as well, and then yeah, but you can do the substrate after the hardscape is sort of done. So I'm just going to start placing in some rocks, because I need these to be able to support the wood. So this piece right here is the piece that I showed you earlier. It's definitely my favorite out of all the ones that I have. So this one could either go this way and more going upwards, or I mean, I'm probably going to go for a triangle composition, so I could also use it kind of as the end of the triangle, you know, like sloping down, and have it sort of like break the line a little bit. But I think I'm going to go for the first option. Something like that. Then I have another really nice piece, and then I have a third one. This is sort of like the rough idea that I had in mind. I'm going to add more wood, I'm going to add more rocks, of course, but yeah, kind of going for the triangular composition. So it'll start really high on the left side. That's where all the tall balancea will be as well, and then the flow will go that way, and then we'll just kind of like slope it down towards the front right. Okay, making pretty good progress. I am doing a lot of it off camera just because it's a very slow process as well, you know, like adding one rock, changing the position of a piece of wood, removing a rock again. So it's just a bit boring in my opinion. So doing a lot of it off camera, but I think we're nearly there. I'm also reusing some old hardscape, so I always like to kind of clean it a bit first with a steel brush, remove some old moss or roots or whatever, and then if there's like old glue spots on there, so this is some tissue paper or like cotton pad with super glue that's completely hardened, just take some pliers or whatever and just see, comes off quite easily. Okay guys, I think the main hardscape structure is pretty much done. I quite like the fan shape that we have going on right now. I left a bit of an open space over here. I just didn't want to have like block the complete background with just spikes of wood, you know. So now we can kind of still see it straight through the background. We can put a nice focal point plant over there, for example, like a lotus or whatever. Then a look from the side. You can see that I've actually stopped the lava rock barrier over there. These two are just kind of like loosely there. This part over here is going to be filled with AQUASOIL. The entire front here and the entire front over there will all be cosmetic sand. I could, of course, you know, continue the barrier and just stop sort of like here. But then you have substrate here. You need another lava rock completely against the front glass and sand here. I think if you just have it all sand, it just looks a little bit nicer in my opinion. So in the lava rock barrier, I still have quite a lot of gaps. You can see a large one right over there. So that's all places where the AQUASOIL could start rolling forward and start mixing with the sand, which we definitely do not want. So I need to cover that up. I have a lot of small lava rocks that I can use for that. And if they don't fit, I can always use some filter wool. So just take a small piece of filter wool, kind of just like gently push that in there. And then if you want, you can cover it up with a small lava rock. Perfect. And we're just going to sprinkle sand over it as well, so none of that will be visible. Right, so I've closed all the gaps in the barrier, so pretty much the only thing left to do in terms of the hardscape is now to glue everything. So I have the liquid super glue, got my cotton pads. I'm just going to make sure that all the pieces of wood are secured to the rock. So I want to make sure nothing's going to float, nothing's going to tip over or whatever. And then after the gluing is done, we can add in the substrate, cosmetic sand, and then the hardscape is really done. So just in case anybody's watching that has never seen it before, I basically like to place these tiny pieces of cotton in between the rocks and the wood. Make sure it's really snug in there, really tightly. And then I take the liquid super glue and I just soak the entire cotton. I'm going to be quite generous with it. And in a few seconds the cotton and the glue is going to form a reaction which just bonds everything together and it's completely safe. Okay, I think I'm done gluing, but as you can see there's like these white pieces of cotton pad visible everywhere. Normally I wouldn't really bother about that, just cover it up with some moss or like in epiphyte like an anubias for example. But in this case I want to make sure it's not visible anymore. So I'm just going to put a little bit more glue on the cotton. And I'm just going to sprinkle on a little bit of brownish sand. That covers it up nicely. Yeah, I'm using this Shoko sand from Wio, but you can use whatever you like. I've seen people use coffee grounds as well. Okay guys, I think we're ready to introduce the substrate. So I'm going to start in the background with the old AQUASOIL. I'll then cover it with a fresh top layer. And then lastly we can do the cosmetic sand and gravel. And then I think we're done for today. Okay, so I've just added the old substrate. Next up I'm going to go in with some root tabs. I don't know exactly how much nutrients is left in that old substrate, so just going to boost it with some flourish tabs. I really like these because they're a tablet, they're not a capsule, so this stuff is definitely not going to float up to the surface. Also, it has pretty much all the nutrients that your plants need, so it's definitely going to give the substrate a bit of a boost. We're just going to sprinkle them on top, and then we cap everything with the fresh aqua soil. Here we go, aqua soil done. So now it's time for the final step. Probably one of the most satisfying things of the entire hardscape building process. Adding in the sand. I do have to say, guys, that there's something very satisfying about just a clean sand foreground. So I'm actually thinking of not adding in the gravel and just leaving it like this. What do you guys think? Yeah, I like how it looks. From the side as well, like, it just looks very clean. And I always add some decorative gravel, you know? So maybe for a change we just don't do it.